Hello everybody, it's the War Hipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the fantastic new Leviathan Terminator Captain. Yes, here he is. I love this guy. He is my favourite of the Space Marines in the box, and I cannot wait to get started on him. Thank you very much to Games Workshop for sending me him as part of the Leviathan box, and today we're going to be painting him up as a Blood Angel. Captain Carlane, perhaps, reborn. Sort of. Doesn't have a thunder hammer. Maybe I should have put a thunder hammer on there. Doesn't matter. We're going to move on. He has been primed in Grey Seer. And the colour we're going to be using first is Baal Red. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of our Terminator Captain's armour. Now, the places we're going to avoid are going to be his shoulders and his tilting shields, just for now. We'll get to those a bit later. They are going to be slightly different colours. There will be elements of red in there, no doubt, but rather than making you do some freehand for now, we're just going to not do them. We'll come back to them a little bit later. If you do happen to get some of this Baal Red on those areas, that's okay. You can just go back in with some Grey Seer and tidy it up. So with all of that Baal Red all applied, as you can see, what we're going to do now is we're going to shade it. And the colour we're going to be using for that is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Blood Angels Red. And we're just going to apply this all over the top. So with that Blood Angels Red and Contrast Medium mix all applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion, and we're going to use this on a lot of different details. So the place we're going to start with this is we're going to apply this to the Aquila upon his chest. Just like this sort of thing. We're going to apply this over the top of the shoulders and the soft joints in his armour. Got quite a large soft joint just there. We're going to apply this over the top of the casing of his Storm Bolter. And we're going to apply it over the top of any skulls on any red bits. So we've got like a skull just here. And here. Like that. And we're also going to apply this over the top of the outside of his cloak. So with that Black Legion applied all the way around, as you can see, what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Skeleton Horde. And we're going to apply this, again, over quite a few different details. So we're going to apply this over the top of all of our parchment, of which there is many. Many bits. We're going to apply this over the top of his hair. Like that. And we're going to apply this over the top of the inside of the cloak. So with that now done, we're going to take some Dark Angel's Green and we're going to apply this over the top of Purity Seals, as well as any smooth cables that might be hanging around. And with that Dark Angel's Green applied, we're then going to take some Basilicanum Grey. I'm going to use this over the top of the Crux Terminatus on the shoulder. And with that now done, we're going to take some Fyreslayer Flesh. I'm going to apply this over the top of his face. So with that now done, we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. I'm going to use this to paint in all of his decorative details. So we've got areas like the skull here on the belt, as well as his little iron halo. There, like that. We've got the iron halo on the top. We've also got the hilt of the sword. Bullets on the storm bolter, and any other little areas you want to be gold as well, such as the trim on his shoulder pads. And with all of that gold applied, we're now going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors, and we're going to apply this over the top of pretty much all of our remaining details. The only place we're not going to be applying this is, of course, on those tilting plates, which we will do very shortly. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to work on those tilting plates. Now, the colour we're going to be using first is Imperial Fist. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be halving this one here. So we want to take the Imperial Fist and draw a straight line going right down the middle, like that. And then we're just going to colour in that half, like that. And what we're also going to do is about halfway up, we're going to kind of crumb across like this, leaving us a little square in the top left corner. You will want to do around the edges as well. Just like that. With that done, whilst we're waiting for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take Baal Red and we're going to apply this over the top of this one here. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave like the top third of it. So we're going to draw a little line going from left to right, like that. And then we're going to just block in the rest of it. So with that Baal Red now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take Black Legion. I'm going to use this over the remaining parts of this one on the left hand side. Just like that. And with that now done, we're then going to take some Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm going to use this to block in our remaining square up here. On this shoulder. Like that. And then what we're also going to do with the Evil Sun Scarlet is going to do a little bit of freehanding here. So we're going to do a little kind of two-step checkerboard in the bottom right corner, just here. So we're going to start by drawing in a line there. And a line there. Then we're going to do a line coming down like this. like that. Then we're going to leave a little gap. We're going to draw in another line down here. Like this. We're going to come across. Then we're going to come down. And that will give you roughly the width and length of the checkers. And draw in our middle one here. Just like this. And then we're going to block all those in. But before we do that, I'm going to come over here and do pretty much the same thing, just across that black band. I'm going to do this by drawing a little line that goes across the middle. Of our black band like that. And then what we want is a box in the middle. So we're going to draw a little line like this, and a little line like that. We're going to leave a gap then on either side of it. We're going to draw two other little boxes which will go in the corners. And then it once again means that that will give you the dimensions for the bottom two. So we can just start blocking those in. Like this sort of thing. So with that now done, we're then going to take some Casandora Yellow. We're going to use this to very carefully shade the yellow sections. Like that. So with that now done, what we're going to do is move on to the rest of the shades. And the first one is going to be some Nuln Oil. I'm going to apply this over the top of the black on the armour, so any hard black details, and over the top of all the silver. With that Nuln Oil all applied, we're then going to take Drakenhof Nightshade. I'm going to use this to shade the cloak. We want this to be a slightly softer black. So with that done, we're then going to take some Reikland Fleshshade. I'm going to apply this over the top of all the gold. So with that done, our Terminator Captain is now at what I would call a War Hipster battle ready, and he's looking pretty fly. However, we're not going to leave him there. No, we're going to take him to the next level. I'm going to be doing this by adding some highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by once again taking some thinned down Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm going to use this now to highlight all of our red. So with all of that Evil Sun Scarlet applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Fire Dragon Bright. And we're going to use this to pick out sharp corners of all the red, as well as any upward facing edges. So for example, across the top here, we're going to add the Fire Dragon Bright. Coming across the arch of the Terminator hood. And then we're just going to pick out little dividers like that. So with that done, all of the red is now finished. So what we're going to do is we'll move on to the next cut, and that's going to be all of the solid black. So this is just all of the stuff on him, not his cloak. We're going to be doing that slightly differently. So the colour we're going to be using for this is Dawnstone. And we're just going to start picking out all of the edges. Now the other thing we are going to do, whilst we've got the Dawnstone here, is going to use this to relayer the Crux Terminatus upon his right shoulder. But otherwise, just want to start picking out all the edges. Just like that sort of thing. So with all that Dawnstone applied, we're now going to take some thinned down Administratum Grey. And we're going to use this to add some little spot highlights to all the black. So we're going to be looking for, again, sharp corners and upturned edges. Like that one just there. Like that. And what we're going to do is we use this to highlight our Crux Terminatus. So with that done, all of our hard black and grey details are now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on that cape. And the colour we're going to be using first for this is Dark Reaper. What we're going to be doing here is going to be just picking out all of the folds and tears in all of the black. So with that Dark Reaper all applied, we're then going to take some thins down Thunderhawk Blue. I'm going to do some really narrow, very precise highlighting here inside our Dark Reaper areas. And finally, just to finish off the cape, we're going to take a tiny amount of Russ Grey. I'm going to pick out the sharpest points in the cloak. Around the tears and the folds. So with that done, the cloak is now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of moot green. We're going to use this to highlight our purity seals. Just like this. So with those purity seals highlighted, we're now going to take some thin down Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our bone details. So the parchment, picking out those solid edges, like that. And we're also going to pick out any little tears in the fabric and edges of the cloak. Although you won't be able to see many of them, so you don't really have to worry too much about anything other than that edge there and this edge here as well. So with that now done, I've also used the Screaming Skull on his hair and his teeth and his eyebrows as well, and we will need it for his eyes in just a minute. But what we're going to do before we do that is we're going to take some thinned down Kislev Flesh. I'm going to use this to effectively re-layer his skin, picking out all of the raised areas. And just leaving our Fyreslayer Flesh in the recesses. With that Kislev Flesh applied, we're then going to take a tiny amount of Volupus Pink. I'm going to apply this inside his mouth, like that, and then a little bit over his bottom lip as well, just like that. Not very much at all. And with that now done, we're going to take a tiny amount of Flayed One Flesh. I'm going to use this to pick out the sharpest points on his face. So with that now done, it's time to take a little teeny tiny amount of Black Legion. And we're going to apply this over the top of the eyeballs. Like that. And like that. And we're also going to apply this over the top of his service studs. And with that now done, we want to take the teeniest, tiniest little dot of Screaming Skull. We want to pop it in the corners of the eyes. So with that now done, we can move on, and we're going to move on to the sword, specifically the sword. We're not going to be doing all of the silver at the moment because we need to do a little bit of a relay here. So what we're going to do is It's going to take some thinned down lead belcher, and we're going to apply this over the flat sections of the sword blade. We're just going to avoid the recesses where possible. And when it comes to doing like the writing here, you just take all of the paint off. You can then effectively just run your brush across it, catch all of those details without going inside those recesses. Like that. And with that now done, we are going to highlight all of the silver details using some thinned down Iron Breaker. And this is going to include, you mustn't forget this, the service studs on his head. Like that. So with that Iron Breaker applied, just before we finish off all of the silver, what we need to do is we need to get the gold up to a similar standard. And the colour we're going to be using first here is some thinned down Retributor Armour. What we're going to do here is we're going to relayer all of our smooth open sections, just to return a little bit of shine. So we're talking about areas such as tops of those bits of pauldron trim. We've got inside the pauldron trim. Like this. We've got the large skull down here. Got the flat section around the iron halo. The dome of the skull. And we've also got the flat sections of the sword decoration. Just there. Like that. And we've got the pommel of the sword as well. So now with that Retributor Armour applied, we're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the gold. And as the rain beats down, we're now going to finish off all of our metallics by taking some thinned down Stormhost Silver and just picking out the sharpest little corners across both the gold and the silver. So with that done, we're very nearly there. What we're going to do is we're going to take some Flash Kits Yellow. I'm going to use this to highlight the yellow sections on his shield. And with that done, we're now going to take a little bit of Ork Flesh. I'm going to apply this over the top of the 2 gems. So we've got one just down here. Like that. And we've got this one. Just there like that as well. So with that now done, it's time to add a little bit of freehand again. Now this bit is kind of optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. And you could even use the transfers if you want, but I'm going to do a little bit of freehand here. And I'm going to start by doing a little teardrop coming down this shield. And the colour I'm using is Corax White. Like that. I'm going to do another little winged design type thing here on this top right corner. Just drawing a little curved line like this and then widening it out. And we're going to do another little line coming out underneath it, and another little one coming down, like that sort of thing. And what I'm also going to do is going down his right leg. I'm going to add a little bit of text going across it. So I'm just going to add some very little squiggly lines. Coming down. The front of his knee. So with that done, I added another little bit of text here on this kind of shield, and I added another teardrop on the top of his knee. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Black Legion and we're going to do another teardrop here in this quarter. And then we're going to block this one in. like that. And then in the other one, we're going to draw a little circle like that. And I'm going to add some little lines coming off the circle. Just like this sort of thing. And so just to finish him off, again, this is another bit of kind of optional content here, but what we're going to do, before the base of course, is we're going to take some Cygor Brown. I'm going to use this to add some more little writing across each of the purity seals. Like that sort of thing. And on these little banners, we're going to write some words. Now these can be whatever you like. I'm going to write Baal, and I'm going to write blood along his shoulder. And the easiest way to do this is if you've got a 5-letter word, start in the middle. Because then you know the space that you're working with. Like that. And if you want to get really fancy with it, what you can do is next to each of the letters you can draw an additional line. At least the ones that have straight lines, so like the B there. And we connect them, and we can do one next to the L. For the O we can draw a little cross through, whatever you like. So with that done, I have lied to you, there is one last thing to do on him, and that is to take some Frostheart, and we're going to apply this over the top of the little power nodes on the sword blade. I'm going to add a little bit of it on the actual flat of the blade around it, like that. Wash the brush, and then just smooth out that transition so there aren't any hard edges around the blue. Like that. And we do the same thing on the inside as well. So with that done, the captain is now finished. He looks absolutely fantastic. The next job is to work on his base. And well, he's been primed in Grey Seer, of course, which means this Screamer Killer down here is going to look very different to the one that we paint in the actual video, because that one has been primed in Wraithbone. So as a consequence of that, we can change the scheme just a little bit to give us a much more cold, more dead looking one, although it won't be too different. And also for the sake of just keeping this tutorial a little bit more kind of sensible, we're just going to kind of simplify the process a little bit here, but this will look very different. So the color we're going to be using here is some Magos Purple. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all the Screamer Killer's flesh. So with that Magos Purple all applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Wraithbone and we're going to gently dry brush this over the top of all of the Screamer Killer's flesh. Now what we want to do here is build this up very slowly. We want this to be quite a heavy coat, so we get that really nice pale finish. So with that now done, we're going to take some Shyish Purple on its own and we're going to apply this over the top of the carapace. And whilst we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to take some Carroburg Crimson and we're going to apply this in the recesses on all the flesh, as well as over the top of the teeth. Whilst we're waiting for all that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Templar. We're going to start applying this over the top of all of the rocks. Just whilst we're waiting for all that Black Templar to dry, we're going to take some Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to highlight the teeth. And with that now done, we're going to take some Luxion Purple. We're going to use this to paint in the sort of corrupty bits. And with that done, we then want to use some Cygor Brown on the soil. And with that now done, we're going to pick out all of the remaining details using some thinned down iron warriors. We've got a couple of little bits of wire. And with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Genestealer Purple. We're going to use this to highlight the Screamer Killer's armour. And so with that now done, I'm going to take some Stirland Battlemire. I'm going to use this to colour in all of our negative space around the base. So with that done as part of my basing scheme for my Blood Angels, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Dark Angels Green. I'm going to apply this in little patches in the areas where I've left little gaps in the texture paint. This is because I'm going for my Nuclear Wasteland bases style. On these guys to match the rest of my army. With that Dark Angels Green all applied, we're then going to take some Nurgle's Rot. I'm going to apply this over the top. That done, just whilst we're waiting for the to dry, what we're going to do is going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to apply this over the top of the metallics. So with that now done, we're going to take some Tyrant Skull. I'm going to use this to dry brush the base. We're just going to avoid the Screamer Killer, but otherwise we want to get this over the rest of it. And so to finish him off, we're then going to take a little bit of Valhallan Blizzard, not very much here. And we're going to just sparsely apply this around the base.
And there we have it then, with some Abaddon Black applied to the base rim, our Terminator Captain is now finished. Ready to lead the rest of the contents of Leviathan against the insidious Tyranids. He's an absolute beast, and he's a real centerpiece character for any Space Marine army. He's got lots of presence, he's on a 50 mil round base, so he's massive, and he stacks up really nicely alongside all your other Space Marines with lots of presence, and he's just really, really damn cool. Plus he can kill Screamer Killers. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster, just like these bosses have done, scrolling up on the screen before you, whose continued support helps me continue to make all the wonderful content that you enjoy. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button on the channel page or just below this video, like these wonderful, amazing people have done. And if you really like this video and you just want to shoot me a little thanks, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.